Hey, good to see you folks. Just waiting for the couchbot to fire. Getting this, getting this underway. Just a little early today, or no, just a little later today. Sorry. Um, got a few things though. Did want to hold off because we had a pretty light load, and then like right around 9:30, some stuff came in. So I wanted to wait just a hair longer to see if we had some more stuff come on through. Um, but I am going to wait for Couch About the Fire because I want to just kind of instead of packaging this. I will throw this in for the live streamers that watch this a little later, as I found quite a few of you do actually, according to the analytics. There is an event going on tomorrow that I think you should consider taking advantage of. And it's National Day of Civic Hacking. This is brought together by Code for America, and there are brigades all around the nation of designers and developers that work on problems. And these brigades, when you jump into them, you can work with a local team, or you can be part of what they call the network team, which is virtual around the nation. So even if you don't have a brigade near you, if you're not near a major metropolitan area, and there are honestly like dozens of brigades, so the likelihood that there is one in your state is extremely high. There's probably multiple in your state. But these brigades are they're according to this, they are trying to understand the social safety net that's that's available to people due to COVID-19 and how that's been impacted. And it says here, Zoom Room 1, Action 1, complete a design audit of your state's benefits applications. So you're going to be working with the first step is a design task. So I can guarantee you, if you decide that you want to sign up for the Civic Day of Hacking, that there are design tasks. And so many people, so many designers, they say to me, when we come upon these type of items, the thing that I hear back from people is that, these events rather, will there be other designers there? Will there actually be something a designer can do at a hacking event? And the answer is always yes. There's always design tasks involved in hackathons. The key is really getting in there, being on time. Like, you don't want to arrive to one of these things late, because when the team plans out what they're doing, they sit down and go, okay, what assets do I have access to? And then they say, okay, we have these people available for the team, so we're going to do X. All right. So if you arrive late and they don't have a design, they don't plan any tasks for a designer. If there's not a designer there the moment that the hackathon kicks off, so got to be on time. Okay, that's rule number one. If you're not on time, probably don't even bother, because getting out of the gate with the team is ideal. And then the second thing is just to be assertive. Okay, this is not this is a virtual event for most people. So if you are, probably for everybody, to be honest with you, but if you are timid and quiet and you kind of hang out in the back, no one's going to know you're there. All right. So this is something where you definitely want to speak up, say, hey, I'm here. Here's what I can do. I would love to help, and just participate. But again, the keys to this are sign up, be there early, and then be vocal. All right. If you can do those three things, there's the likelihood that this is a great opportunity to not only flex your design muscles and work with different people, But this is a great networking event, okay? Particularly if you are able to tag along with the brigade near you. This would be a great opportunity to broaden not only your social circles but your career networking circles. And that's where we're going to really focus a lot of our attention today. By the way, the channel is 3 views away from 30,000. And I am super excited about that. As you know, these live streams are very focused on a small community. So to get 30,000 views is pretty cool. So thank you. But we're literally 3 away. I was wondering when CouchBot fired today. It always tells me, it says, hey, you've had this many views, and today we're 3 away. So the first 3 of you that watch it, hey, fireworks will go off. I don't know when that will happen because I always get the data later, but maybe they will fire off where you are. Okay, but with that, I'm going to go ahead and get this underway. That's National Civic Day of Hacking. I hope that some of you, all of you, participate. And let's go ahead and shift gears now. I'm going to pop over to LinkedIn. I'll come back to that in just a moment, though. Yes. Okay. Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. It is time for the feedback loop. So good to have you along. This edition of the feedback loop, we're going to go in a couple of different directions. One, Abby has got not one but 2 exercises turned back. One's more of an update from yesterday, and the other one is a new one. And then Rebecca had some questions that I want to address in a little more broad approach. And this is really about the job search and networking, which is why I kicked instead of this being like a pre-show thing that I typically clip off. I want to make sure that this like stays on in the main version of feedback loop, because this is one we're gonna refer back to, and it's particularly focused on, how do you search beyond just the listings that are in a job posting, or the job postings themselves. So let's rephrase that. How are you going to search for your next job without relying just on the job postings? That's what we're here to cover today. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to arm you with a tip that a lot of people would stay away from this. And I know why. Does anybody, you ever heard the term cold call? Does anybody like getting a cold call from a telemarketer? I don't. I'm sure most of you don't either. We hate robocalls. We hate hearing from political parties of any kind, regardless of our political affiliation. We don't want the robocalls. And these cold calls, they just have a really negative connotation to them. But if I told you that there are design managers out there actively inviting you to cold call them, to contact them, would you believe me? Because it's true. It is absolutely true that there are hundreds of design managers waiting for you to knock on their door. They may not have control of the job postings. Okay? And that's the way a lot of these companies work. The budget to hire exists over in one department away from the person who's actually going to be taking part in the hiring. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look really quickly at how we can drill down and find these people really fast. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get this underway. And right away, we're going to come up here and look at LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, we've all been through LinkedIn. We understand what it is. But in this search box, I want to focus on one topic: design manager hiring. If you haven't gone through and just searched for design manager hiring, UX hiring, the reason I focus on this is because there are a number of jobs out there that the people that are involved in the hiring, they may not be the hiring manager, but they may be a manager of some sort. They're involved in some way with recruiting people to the organization. Okay? I searched for UX hiring. There are 62,000 results in LinkedIn. First one here is let's see here, multiple UX roles. Hire. This person works at, looks like Gin, New York. This person is Facebook. That person is Facebook. This person is Amazon. This person is Google. This person is Amazon. Amazon, Google, Amazon. Disney. Who doesn't want to work for Disney streaming? Really? You want to work for Disney Plus? Did you realize they were hiring? And this is what I mean. This is what I mean. These people, Susan here, is saying, hey, I'm director of UX and design at Disney Streaming Services. I'm hiring. That is a invitation to knock on her door. And oddly enough, I have 2 connections to her that I could reach out to and say, hey, this Susanna Soares says she's hiring, and I'm interested in working there. Wilfredo or Martin, could you introduce me? Do you know her? And that's the trick here. You want to reach out through your network if you have a connection to this person, and you want to say, hey, Wilfredo, do you know Susanna Soares? And I know Wilfredo does because he works at Disney. Martin likely does. He's an animator, illustrator. Really great guy overall. You want to reach out to them first and ask them for an invitation, for a connection. Now, let's circle back and let's talk about one that you don't have a connection with. I'll take Grace here. Grace Bassett. She's a PhD. She's a UX researcher at Facebook. She's hiring. I would pay for the upgraded. Sometimes you have to pay to message people on LinkedIn. If you wanted to work at Facebook, and you want it, and you do not have a connection to Grace, buy the premium email so you can make that message. Okay, because this is how you're going to get closer to the job. Instead of just waiting for a recruiter to possibly get back to you. But I would first focus on, I would look for, do I know anybody? Do I have a first connection with anybody who's doing hiring? I do. Tudley here, Jerry, Shauna, Jimmy, Kyle, Emmeline, Bobby. Now some of these, I'll notice it says responsibilities include hiring. Kristen Morgan here works at Mapbox, hiring mobile engineers. So these are not all as focused on hiring as I would like. So what I would like to do then is I'd like to come back and say, okay, I'm going to clear that filter, and I'm going to come back to connections. Give me second level connections, and that's going to be a lot more refined on just the keywords UX and hiring. We've got Bernard here, Elsa, Deanna, Nazanin. I'm terrible with names. I have Irish guy pronunciation issues, but I've got Ryan here. I've got Greg there, Fred, Paul, and again, anywhere you have a connection, I would definitely reach out to that connection and say, hey, Paul, Do you know Bernard? And first of all, I'd back up and say, do I know Paul? Because these LinkedIn connections over the years, they get a little less tight. Okay. Greg, I went to school with Greg. I know Greg. I could contact Greg and ask Greg, hey, do you know this Deanna, who's a UX manager at Amazon? I'm interested in working at Amazon. Do you know, hey, Sanny? Sanny's a great friend. Do you know Miriam over at Google? Could you introduce me to Miriam? I'm really interested in knowing more about. She says she's hiring, and I'm interested in working for Google. Okay, so that would be one way to do it. The other way to do it is to say, hey, I'm interested in UX and I'm interested in Microsoft. There we have Sherian Porter, a UX designer at Microsoft. And what I don't see there is I don't see hiring. But I do see Nafisa, UX leader, Google Cloud Platform, hiring for all UX disciplines. What I'm curious about there is why Microsoft came up. She's clearly at Google. Eric here is clearly at Microsoft. Or no, Eric was at Microsoft. In the past, he was at Microsoft. So that's interesting. But, again, you have hiring. These people these people are hiring leads. They do match that criteria. So maybe I'll say design manager hiring Microsoft. So this will bring up just people who are design managers. Principal program manager, Microsoft. Experience strategy design lead. This is Eric again. Kai Ding is design manager at Facebook, hiring. So, ex Microsoft. So, this is the trick. Some of these things are senior recruiting manager, Azure at Microsoft, but I don't see the hiring tag there. Co-founder at Clay, we're hiring. Hey, Roblox. Now that's interesting. My kid would like to work there. But these are the types of search queries that you can do in LinkedIn that will generate a list of people that are hiring that you can go knock on the door. They're asking you to knock on the door. You want to, and also this begins a conversation. You don't necessarily know what they're hiring for. You are a designer. They are a design manager and they are hiring. If you have your portfolio, great. I would send that along with your request to talk. I would not, I would definitely use this opportunity to reach out. Don't say I'm looking for a job, okay? Don't come across with that. Come across with, hey, I saw you are I don't want to do Facebook, but let's Azure at Microsoft. I'm a big fan of the changes that have occurred at Microsoft over the past decade and how the company has really reformed itself or basically reinvented itself over the past decade. I'm a UX designer who's currently looking for opportunities, and I saw that you're hiring. Okay, you can make the same thing about Roblox. Hey, I'm a big fan of the platform. I'm very familiar with it as my child plays it constantly. Netflix. I love how your company has reinvented entertainment and streaming. You could say the same thing for the Disney Plus thing. You talk about how you see the future for that company and talk about what you bring to the table. These are all different ways that you can begin that conversation. But, what I wouldn't say is, hey, I'm a UX designer and I'm looking for a gig and I saw you were hiring. Like, paint a picture that says you specifically want to work with them at their company, not just you'll take anything. All right. Make them feel like you want them, not just anything. All right. Okay. So with that, I just wanted to kind of drill down a little bit on how to uncover some of these other opportunities that are not necessarily on the board. I don't know where, this Roblox job, are they only advertising in San Francisco? I don't know. I would have to ask about that. Um, this Netflix job, is it only in San Francisco? Is it remote? It's worth a conversation. And keep in mind, in this day and age, in this era, everything's remote. So everything is worth a conversation. So get on it. Start doing these cold calls. Look for companies that you're really interested in. If you're really interested in Google, search for Google. UX Design Manager at Google hiring. UX Design Manager hiring at Google. UX Leader, Google Cloud Platform, hiring for all UX disciplines. Opportunities are out there. There's 4 Google managers hiring in that one search. And many of them I'm connected to somehow. Reach out to them. All right. With that, let's move on. I want to spend a moment looking at, okay, so Abby has her analysis one-pager back, and she's flipped it around. She's now I don't necessarily know what you pulled off of here, but I know we have facts, competition, and now recommendations. And this is the piece that we were missing before. And ultimately, anytime a company has brought you in, the big thing they're looking for is, what would you recommend that we do? Okay, especially at this stage in the game, you've done some analysis for them, and you're coming back to them with in this case, the deliverable is the recommendations. All right. When I think about the way this page is structured, it's still not hitting on when let's think about it like a headline, like a story. All right. I feel like we're burying the lead. Like the recommendations down here are these. This is the major thing that they're looking for. And let's look at your recommendations. Your recommendations to get the business back into action safely is follow the mandate, follow the provided guidelines as the state has provided. We got to work on the words here. Follow the mandate, follow the provided guidelines as the state has provided. Come on, journalist, you're better than that. Keep players informed of the new rules so they can play safe, and smart games will be able to continue as close to normal as past games and tournaments were. But I think you should carry this further. So if we were to really make this recommendation, and I know, because we've looked at the mandate focuses on certain sports. All right? Follow the mandate. I would say if I was going to focus on sports that have been approved, that have the lowest risk possible, as provided by the state guidelines, or as outlined in the state guidelines. This includes, and there was a long list of sports that you could do that were considered low risk, including things that I would not have considered low risk, like baseball and softball. That gives you like a clear actionable. This is where we should focus our business. Like, follow the mandate keeps it still broad. I've got to dive into the mandate to see what's there. And you talk about the mandate a little bit up here, But again, it's like we kind of get like things out of order. It's like, what's the recommendation? Well, the recommendation is down here. Communication is key. Keep website and socials up to date with health guidelines. Offer all information you have, and keep a close keep contact info close for any concerns they may have. So like, this is accurate. This second bit though, it's a little word salad. I offer all information you have and keep contact info close for any concerns they may have. I don't know what that second piece means. So I would go harder on this. I would clean that up. Virtual social events. Okay, so now we're getting into like, how are we going to differentiate this and make money? Create different events for all age groups. Give a sense of community. Community. That's the piece that's missing from this pandemic. Through a screen keeps us safe from germs and still gives us a sense of community. Okay, so mandate. What specifically about the mandate should we be following? Sports. Virtual social events. And then communication. Like, I would reorder the recommendations and I'd put those big and bold up top. Move the facts down. Because I can't act on the facts. I can't act on those. I just can't. Like, what do I do with that? This is what I can actually act on. Okay? So when you are doing a one-sheeter, follow that one, you got 1 minute. If you got 1 minute with the group, what are you going to tell them? If I'm reading down this page, am I going to read that there's that, hey, we're going to get the players back? No. I'm going to say we're going to follow the mandate and we should focus on these sports. We're going to do virtual events. We're going to up our communication because that's going to give us a competitive advantage over our competitors because they really suck at that. Done. Okay? And if you can do that, I think you win. Let's focus on your survey now. So your survey, this is a different project, okay? And oops, we got a couple of questions here. It looks like. Okay, so here we've got your survey, and I like a lot of the questions that are here. What type of environment do you or your child learn and what type of environment do you or your child learn and study? What's the preferred environment for your child to learn and study in? So, wordsmithing there. Quiet room, noisy shared room, outside, public space, other. And that's a pretty good first question. If you have a child. Okay? And this is where filtering comes in. So you're gonna send this out. You're gonna send this survey out to people, and you have no idea who they really are. Now you can drop it in certain places. You can drop it in the right Reddit channel, or you can put it over in the right Facebook group. You can tweet it out. But at the end of the day, you don't know who's going to arrive here. So I would suggest filtering this. Like, you need a couple of questions at the top that help you pick a direction. Okay? So the first filter would be like something like, have you or somebody in your immediate family been impacted by the COVID restrictions placed on public schools? Okay? What that does is it weeds out like grandparents who might get it that don't really do anything with their grandchildren at school. It weeds out 20-somethings that have no connection to the public school district, and it keeps them from, because if you don't weed them out, how does a 20-something without kids that's not involved in the school district, how do they answer that question? What type of environment do you and your child? I don't have a child, so other, I guess, none. I bounce. Like, you want to sort them out. have you been impacted by this pandemic? Have you or a family member been impacted from a school perspective? Yes, no. For the no's, say thank you. For the yeses, you then ask, what is your relationship to the public school in your community? I'm a parent. I'm a student. I'm a teacher. I'm an administrative staff. I am a business. Like, you want to find out how these people are coming to it. And there are different questions. Like this question right here: do you or your child's? This is a parent. This is a parent question. Okay, so this survey begins to branch off in different directions. All right. Do your child learn and study? Parent. Where do you get Wi-Fi internet access? That's a great question. That could be parent. What materials were you or your child required to have this year but don't have? That's a parent. How are your classes structured? That's a parent or teacher. Okay. Have any classes been removed, canceled for the from the curriculum due to the pandemic? That's a yes, no. If they answer yes, which classes were affected? If they answer no, you skip that part. Okay, that's where a not segmented controller. That's where you have a conditional response. If yes, do this. If no, do that. Okay. What type of learner are you or your child? It's interesting because I'm not quite sure, what type of learner. I'm not sure if I care about the parent so much, but is this intended to be possibly a student? And again, if they answer student, I wouldn't want the question to be phrased with you or your child, because I just want to say, what type of learner are you? What type of learner is your child? Again, different direction for the survey. The survey is going to have conditional piping in it. You may have 50 questions, but only 5 to 10 would show up for any one type of user. Okay? How would you better compare your or your child's learning habits? Now, how would you compare wording? And this is something that I feel like you probably were writing this pretty fast, trying to get something back for feedback. So look at the wording through this. You've got a journalism background. I'm going to expect those sorts of things to be eradicated pretty fast. How would you compare your child? I'll just focus it on the child. Let's just go with the parent track. How would you compare your child's learning habits now versus last year? Or you could say, how are your child's learning habits now compared with last year? Better, more focused, worse, no focus, about the same. That's a good question set, or that's a good option set. And that's what I would advise doing. Filtering, getting those conditional responses going, and then let's circle back to see what this looks like when you've got the piping for, this is the set for parents, this is the set for teachers, this is the set for students, because those are going to be the different groups that you're going to be talking to in this process. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this edition of the Feedback Loop. I hope that you found it helpful, particularly that first part where we were diving into how you can go through the process of hunting for jobs that might not necessarily be posted online. Without further ado, I'm Chris Courtney. I will chat with all of you again on Monday.